Tri-Wing Building. As Director Fury was pondering how to deal with the Hydra agents in his office, a man pushed open the door and walked in. "John, what brings you here?" "Chief, I have a plan here. If this plan succeeds, it can greatly reduce our workload. Take a look." The visitor placed a document on the table and pushed it towards Chief Fury. Upon seeing this, Director Fury picked up the document. The cover read Project Insight. Director Fury didn't linger, but instead opened the first page. However, the more he read, the stronger his inner turmoil became. He was even certain that the man before him, John Garrett, a level 8 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., was a member of Hydra. However, his expression did not change. Instead, he pondered for a while, thinking about what he would do if he did not yet know about the existence of Hydra. After all, he could not reveal that they already knew about Hydra's existence. Although on the surface it appears that S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the open while Hydra is in the shadows, in Director Fury's view, they are in the shadows while Hydra is in the open, so they still have a chance of winning. This plan is good, but it requires too much manpower and resources. The Bureau can't gather that many resources to support this plan in a short time. However, we can build one first to see the effect. What do you think? "Chief, you're in charge," John Garrett said without changing his expression. "All right, let's begin the Insight Project then. You'll be in charge of this project from now on, and I'll assign you the necessary personnel." "Yes, Director." After John Garrett left, Director Fury looked at the documents in front of him, his heart already churning with turmoil. If this Insight Project really succeeds, then Hydra will be invincible, and that's no joke. The apparent Insight Project involves building 3 space carriers, each equipped with high-precision gun turrets capable of accurately hitting enemies at altitudes of thousands of meters. Simultaneously, the carriers will be linked to near-Earth high-precision satellites, enabling the 3 space carriers to target 800,000 people simultaneously. Furthermore, through big data and satellite monitoring, it can accurately predict impending terrorist events and then use high-precision artillery to nip the danger in the bud. This is the publicly known Project Insight, but Director Fury knows that this is not the final Project Insight, but he is helpless now. Just then, an elderly man with white hair, wearing a blue suit, walked in. Upon seeing him, Director Fury stood up. "Alexander, what brings you here? Why can't I come? What am I doing here?" The newcomer was Alexander Pierce, one of the smugglers. Pierce sat down opposite Director Fury with practiced ease, then pretended to see the documents on the table and looked at Director Fury, making it seem as if he could see them. A flicker of disbelief crossed Director Fury's face, but he quickly regained his composure. The change in expression was so rapid that even Pierce didn't notice it. "Look, this is a plan I've just started." After reviewing the plan, Pierce couldn't help but praise it repeatedly. Then, Director Fury took the opportunity to explain that due to insufficient funding, they could only temporarily build a space carrier and launch a near-Earth high-precision satellite. "Insufficient funding? No problem. I will talk to the representatives of each member country. I think they are very interested in this plan. However, I can't guarantee that I can get the funding for you." Pierce then took the opportunity to leave. After he left, Chief Fury sat down, closed his eyes, and sighed helplessly. He is now certain that Alexander Pierce is a member of Hydra. The higher-ups have already confirmed 2 Hydra members, and he can't even imagine how many other high-ranking agents are Hydra members. After seeing Pierce off, Coulson followed him in. "Coulson, you've arrived." "Chief, have I been assigned another assignment? What's your relationship with John Garrett like?" "Very good. During a mission, he even took a bullet for me to save me." "What's wrong, Chief?" "It's nothing. I just ran into John Garrett and asked a few questions. From now on, you're in charge of keeping an eye on the Marvel Studios in Hell's Kitchen. If they open, let me know immediately, understand?" "Understood, Director." After Coulson finished speaking, he left. For some reason, he felt that Director Fury was a little strange today, but he didn't say anything. He got into the Quinjet and flew towards New York. Director Fury then began his daily work. It is important to know that several prerequisites must be met to complete the Insight Project, including near-Earth high-precision satellites. At least 12 satellites are needed to meet the field of view required by the Insight Project. Next were the 3 space carriers, the high-precision gun emplacements, and the supercomputers and programs capable of performing big data analysis. Of course, the computer and program are very easy for them to obtain, but Hydra will definitely tamper with them. As for how they will do it, Director Fury is not sure. They still have a long time to continue their plans, but Hydra seems to have sensed Fury's change, so they had no choice but to hold another meeting. "Why are we having another meeting?" one of the smugglers asked, annoyed. "Nick Fury may already know of our existence. Should we take action against him now, or wait until Project Insight is almost complete?" Pierce asked, "Are you certain that Nick Fury is aware of our presence?" "Uncertain, I mean possibly, you understand? Since it's uncertain, we can't take action to avoid alerting them." Before Project Insight is completed, we must learn to be patient. Otherwise, we may suffer unprecedented setbacks, one of the smugglers said. The other smugglers echoed his sentiments. Pierce knew they were trying to intimidate him, since he held the most power and had the Winter Soldier under his command. This group had been trying to find a way to bring him down. Pierce was furious. These guys hadn't even finished their most important plan, and they were already fighting amongst themselves. All right, in that case, let's wait until Project Insight is almost finished before taking down Nick Fury. The others nodded in agreement, and since there was nothing else to do, they left. After they left, Pierce watched their retreating figures, barely suppressing the urge for the Winter Soldier to kill them. In the end, he sat there alone, his face contorted in pain. "Sir, are we just going to keep watching like this?" Hell's Kitchen, a handsome young man said irritably in the convenience store directly opposite the Marvel Studios. "Grant Ward, remember who you are. I think someone must have taught you when you were in the academy that patience is an essential part of being an agent. Look at how impatient you are now." "I don't see you as an excellent student," Coulson said seriously. "I'm sorry, sir, I was wrong. Remember, as a special agent, patience is extremely important. And this is your first mission after leaving the academy. I don't expect you to do a perfect job, but at the very least, don't make any mistakes. Understand?" "Understood, sir. I understand. Deliver the goods to this address." Coulson handed a paper bag and a note to the handsome young man. The young man reluctantly picked up the note, glanced at the address, memorized it, and left the convenience store with the paper bag. But as soon as he stepped out of the convenience store, he realized that he seemed to be being watched, which made the handsome young man smile. "Finally, I have something to do, and I can finally relax." The followers behind him waited until he delivered the paper bag to the designated location and received the money before they came out and blocked the handsome young man in the alley. "Kid, if you don't want a few more holes in your body, you'd better hand over your money to me obediently," a thug said arrogantly, holding a pistol. "What if I don't give it to you?" the handsome young man asked with a wicked smile. "You really won't give it to me?" "No. Then don't blame me, damn it," the thug said, preparing to fire, but the handsome young man sped up even faster, taking a step in front of the thug. The thug was clearly frightened, his body trembling. Immediately afterward, the handsome young man grabbed the pistol, placed his index finger behind the trigger to prevent the thug from pulling it, and then elbowed him to the ground, successfully seizing the pistol. Seeing the handsome young man point his gun at them, the group of thugs raised their hands in surrender. But what the young man did next left them completely bewildered. He stylishly disassembled the gun into pieces, and then provocatively beckoned to the crowd. Enraged, the group of thugs charged at the young man with shouts. The result was predictable, but since there were 5 of them, the handsome young man managed to defeat the 5 thugs at the cost of minor injuries. Phew, that feels good. Welcome back next time. Now these 5 thugs finally understood that the handsome young man was taking his anger out on them. But since they were weak, they could only swallow their anger and suffer in silence. Just as the handsome young man was about to leave, the leader of the 5 thugs shouted, "Wait a minute. What? Haven't you had enough of being beaten yet? Do you want me to keep beating you?" "No, handsome, it seems you want a place to vent. I do know an underground boxing ring, but you'll need someone to guide you. I can take you there, but I'll need to take 30% of your appearance fee. Are you willing to go?" "Underground boxing? Interesting. Come find me at the convenience store at 8 p.m. tonight." After saying that, the handsome young man left, while the gang leader waved his arm excitedly, but accidentally aggravated his wound and quickly stopped. "Boss, are we really going to take him to an underground boxing ring? Of course, you've all seen his ability. If we can bring him along, and he even plays a few matches, the money we earn could exceed what we made in a year before. Anyway, we don't have to play, so what's there to be afraid of?" "Boss, you're right, but could you help us up? It hurts so much, we can't stand up at all." "You bunch of useless bastards, get up now." The 5 thugs helped each other away, but before leaving, they picked up all the parts of the pistol. Don't be fooled by the fact that these thugs seem to be doing business with no capital. In reality, they don't earn much each day. After paying protection money to the local police and taking a cut from the local gangs, what they actually get is even less. That's why they're so frugal. The handsome young man who had returned to the convenience store was stopped by Coulson, who looked him up and down and asked, "You got beaten up?" "Pretty much. I got robbed and fought with them. Remember, we're infiltrating, so don't be too conspicuous. If something can be solved with money, don't resort to violence." "Yes, sir." "All right, go wash up and change your clothes." The handsome young man nodded and left, but Coulson watched his retreating figure with a meaningful look, then sighed and shook his head helplessly. Night fell in the blink of an eye. At 8 o'clock, the handsome young man locked the convenience store door on time, and the 5 thugs appeared. "Brother, we're here." "You're here. Come on, Show me your underground boxing ring. Let's go, brother. Led by 5 thugs, they arrived at a baseball field. But that was only the exterior. After passing through several hidden doors, when the last door was opened, the noisy noise made the 6 of them stop instinctively and frown. Dude, you'll get used to it. Are you going to enter the competition right away, or do you want to wait and see? Let's take a look first. They then arrived at a relatively empty stands and looked down to see 2 burly men brutally beating each other in an octagonal cage, their faces already covered in blood. At this moment, the gang leader spoke up. These are all fake. The owner of the underground boxing ring specially prepared them to attract thrill-seeking customers. Of course, they fight for real, but no one will die. It just looks scary, but it's all superficial injuries. They are all professionals. Is there no life or death battle? Yes, but it has to be after midnight. The matches going on now are not life or death battles. There can be absolutely no deaths. If either side accidentally kills their opponent, they will not receive a single penny and will be blacklisted. Interesting, help me sign up, the handsome young man said, stretching his neck. Are you really going? Don't you want to consider their strength? Need not. Oh well. The gang leader found the person in charge here, registered the handsome young man, and returned shortly afterward. You've been registered. It'll be your turn to go on stage soon. Someone will guide you. If you don't want to show your face, you can tell them, and they'll provide a mask. The handsome young man nodded and continued looking down at the ring. Both men were nearly exhausted, their fists limp. Amid cheers and shouts from the crowd, one of them collapsed to the ground, while the other raised his hands, basking in the cheers. Then medical personnel came in and took them both away. Brother, it's time to go in. Follow that guy, the gang leader said, pointing to the bunny girl who was waving. The handsome young man nodded and left with the bunny girl, but he didn't notice that Carlson had appeared in the stands. Chief, has the situation gotten this bad? Carlson asked in ventriloquism, while the white man standing next to him looked excitedly at the handsome young man and a Brazilian entering below. That's right. Now I'm sure you're on our side, but John Garrett is a Hydra agent, and he's John Garrett's adopted son. There's a 90% chance he's also a Hydra agent. You need to be careful and not reveal that you know about Hydra. You also need to secretly find out who is a Hydra agent and who is one of us. Do you understand? The white man also spoke in ventriloquism. Understood, Director. The white man then left the area, went to an alley, boarded a stealth Quinjet fighter jet, and flew away. Once back in the jet, he removed his disguise, revealing himself to be Director Fury. After Director Fury left, Carlson looked at Grant Ward in the ring, his eyes gradually becoming sharp, but soon his gaze changed back to its original state. Carlson looked down at the ring and saw the Brazilian using capoeira, leaping and bounding around the ring, constantly using leg techniques to attack the handsome young man. However, the handsome young man used his agility to dodge. If he took off his mask, the audience would see the handsome young man's disdainful expression. Yes, disdain. Because the handsome young man had also studied capoeira, he could tell that the person in front of him was just messing around with his capoeira. So he seized the opportunity and delivered a side kick, directly hitting the Brazilian's genitals. The men present couldn't help but gasp and instinctively covered their groins. This is awful. Are all your people like this? Grand complained to the staff on the sidelines. Excuse me, sir, we'll be arranging a new opponent for you. Please welcome Superman. Upon hearing the name, the audience was taken aback at first, then cheered. A moment later, a black man wearing a mask walked out, dressed in a gray hooded short-sleeved shirt, casual pants, and Converse sneakers. Wonder Man? What kind of weird name is that? The handsome young man complained. Make your move, said the mighty warrior calmly. Above, Carlson stared intently at Wonder Man. Besides keeping an eye on the agency, his secret mission, which was just given to him by Director Fury, was to recruit some superhumans as a trump card to turn the tide. However, although there are many superpowered individuals now, they are all hiding. They cannot use S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intelligence system to investigate, otherwise it would attract the attention of Hydra. Therefore, they can only investigate secretly and then recruit them. This is his mission. Wonder Man, I wonder what superpowers you have. Do you really possess immense strength? Carlson murmured. At this moment, the battle below had already begun. Grant took the initiative and threw a punch at Wonder Man's face. However, to his surprise, Wonder Man just stood there without moving, letting the fist hit his face. Just as Grant was wondering what was going on, his fist struck Wonder Man. The instant they made contact, he understood. The sound of bones breaking rang out, and Grant screamed in pain. He endured the pain and created distance between them, then delivered a spinning kick to Wonder Man's stomach. Wonder Man didn't move, but Grant himself was knocked back 2 steps by the recoil. You are no match for me, admit defeat, said the mighty warrior calmly. Grant stared intently at Wonder Man. He knew Wonder Man was right. He was indeed no match for him. and he was certain that Wonder Man was a superhuman, and judging from his appearance, his superpower was related to defense. He didn't suggest continuing the attack. He simply told the staff that he was giving up. It was midnight, and the life-or-death battle began. The atmosphere here changed instantly. Grant looked at the scene before him, a bloodthirsty glint flashing in his eyes, but he quickly composed himself because Coulson had appeared. "Sir, come with me. You've really disappointed me this time." Coulson shook his head with a look of utter disappointment. The two walked out of the baseball field one after the other. On the way back, Grant wanted to speak, but the words wouldn't come out. "What? Don't you have anything you want to tell me?" "I'm sorry, sir, I've let you down. Can you tell me why I'm fighting in underground boxing matches?" "And don't call me sir, call me boss," Coulson asked. "Boss, as you know, I'm the best student at the Special Agent Academy. I originally thought my first mission would be to rescue hostages or assassinate terrorists, but I never expected my first mission would be surveillance, and for such a long time. So I'm a bit restless, and I decided to vent my emotions by fighting in underground boxing matches. I'm sorry, boss. I'm glad you're willing to tell me, but I hate what you did. This is a one-time exception. If this happens again, you'll be going back to the academy to relearn how to be a secret agent, understand?" "Yes, boss. Let's go." After the two returned to the room upstairs from the convenience store, Grant first locked the door from the inside, then took out a machine and carefully scanned the entire room. After confirming that the machine was not making any noise, he took out a metal plate from a hidden corner, unfolded it, and it turned into a very thin tablet computer. After the screen flashed a few times, he folded the tablet back into the metal plate, hid it again, and erased all traces. After doing all that, he went to wash up and go to bed. Little did he know that everything he did was being watched by Coulson in the next room. After all, both of them came from S.H.I.E.L.D., so he knew about all the technology S.H.I.E.L.D. had. In order to better monitor him, Coulson specifically asked Tony to make a pinhole camera using non-metallic materials. Tony quickly created this pinhole camera, which had no electronic components whatsoever and was only used for the helmet. Its principle was simple: pinhole imaging. The image seen by the pinhole camera was refracted and projected onto the curtain at a specific angle, so that Coulson could see everything happening in Grant's room. So when he actually saw Grant do those things, he sighed slightly, seemingly lamenting the current state of S.H.I.E.L.D., or perhaps lamenting that Grant really was Hydra. But he quickly rallied, and next he needed to make plans, the first thing being to recruit Powerman. The following day, Coulson left a note and then left the convenience store. When Grant woke up, Coulson was nowhere to be found, but he didn't care. He went about his business running the convenience store, occasionally playing on his phone, or taking apart a handgun and cleaning every part with a cloth. He was just so bored that he had nothing better to do. And where Coulson went is obvious. He disguised himself and found Wonder Man's location. Knock knock. A knock sounded at the door, and a burly black man opened it. Looking at Coulson, who was dressed in a black suit, he frowned and asked, "Who are you? What do you want? Are you Wonder Man? How did you know my location?" "Don't get agitated, I mean no harm. I'm here to have a chat with you." Seeing this, the black man stood still. Coulson didn't feel embarrassed. After a while, the black man turned to the side and Coulson walked in. "Hello, I'm Agent Phil Coulson from S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm sorry to be speaking to you with this face." "What's the meaning?" Coulson reached out and wiped his face, instantly removing a transparent mask and revealing his true appearance. "Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What kind of organization is that?" The black man sat across from Coulson, poured him a glass of water, and asked, "Don't you doubt my identity? With such technology, even if you're not a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, the power behind you must be enormous." "It's quite big, what's wrong? I want you to help me get revenge. If you can help me get revenge, I will voluntarily join your organization." Upon hearing this, Coulson fell silent. He didn't know whether he should help or not. If he did, he might be discovered by Hydra, but if he didn't help, Wonder Man wouldn't join them. Coulson hesitated for this reason. "Can I know exactly what your abilities are?" "I can lift about 20 tons of weight, and I can penetrate about 4 inches of steel plate with one punch. In terms of defense, I can withstand a head-on shot from a pistol bullet, and I can withstand the impact of a 1-ton weight. I can also withstand attacks from melee weapons such as knives and daggers. That's about the extent of my abilities. Because I don't have specific instruments, I can't know the true limits." "I understand. We will help you get revenge." A drop of blood. One Drop of Blood is a newly formed gang whose members are mostly young people. Compared to other gangs, they are more unscrupulous. If that were all, it would be fine, but they are bloodthirsty and brutal. They either don't act at all, or when they do, they wipe out entire families. Coupled with their fearlessness and protective nature, if any of their own were bullied, the entire gang would retaliate together. Gradually, people stopped daring to provoke them and would avoid them on the street, which greatly satisfied their vanity. The symbol of the One Drop Blood Gang is a tattoo of a drop of blood on the face or hand, and no one else is allowed to get this tattoo. Otherwise, they only have two choices: either add a drop of blood, or they will cut off that piece of skin with a knife. Therefore, no one in New York, or even the whole of America, dares to get this tattoo. Are your enemies all of one drop of blood, or just a few individuals? All. So, do you want to help out, or do you want us to handle everything? Coulson asked, as if he were a waiter discussing a product with Wonder Man, a customer. You can handle it, but they all have to die. Actually, I'm very curious. With your strength, dealing with them should be a piece of cake. Why are you making us do this? Coulson asked, puzzled. After a long silence, the hero said, I have a younger sister. If I were to take action, unless I actually kill all the members, my sister would be in danger every moment. For my sister's safety, I cannot take action. Understood. I'll start planning now, and I'll come find you after you see the message. After saying that, Coulson put his disguise mask back on and left. On his way back to the convenience store, Coulson contacted Chief Fury, and the two began chatting about everyday things. However, hidden within these casual conversations lay a secret, the secret of which only the two of them knew. After the call ended, Coulson smiled. It seems there are still people we can trust. Coulson then contacted a team leader in S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intelligence department, told him his needs, and asked him to keep it confidential. After being investigated by Director Fury, the intelligence team leader confirmed that he was a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he told him the truth about S.H.I.E.L.D. and made him an inside man for the intelligence department. This way, at least they wouldn't be so restricted when they wanted information. After the intelligence team leader finished his business, Coulson returned to the convenience store and closed the door behind him. Sir, why are you closing so early today? Grant, I have something to do next. It's a personal matter. You can choose to help or stand by and do nothing. Whatever you choose, I won't blame you. Sir, don't talk to me like that. Just tell me what you want me to do. An old friend of mine had his entire family killed by the One Drop of Blood gang, and the police couldn't do anything about it, so I want to take care of them all by myself, leaving no one alive. I don't plan to report this or use the power of S.H.I.E.L.D. I understand, sir. I'll help you. It's been too long since I fired a gun. All right, I'll go prepare the weapons and equipment we need for tonight. We'll move out immediately, Coulson said with a grim face. After Coulson finished speaking, he left. Grant kept staring at his back until he was sure Coulson was really far away. Then Grant immediately returned to his room, took out his ultra-thin tablet, and began to investigate who Coulson's old friend was. Upon accessing Coulson's information, he found a message that had just been updated. He clicked on it and discovered that one of Coulson's cellist friends had indeed been killed by the One Drop of Blood, and that his entire family of 7 had been wiped out. It seems to be true, Grant murmured. Of course, this news was fabricated, but it can't be said to be completely fabricated. The musician's entire family was indeed silenced by a drop of blood. However, Coulson asked the intelligence team leader to impersonate the musician's old friend. After all, with no one to testify, Hydra would have no way to investigate. As night fell, in Coulson's convenience store, the two men were loading bullets into magazines. 4 specially customized Sig Sauer P320 pistols were already laid out on the table. All 4 pistols were equipped with silencers, but only 2 of them had red dot sights. It was easy to see that these 2 were the primary pistols, while the other 2 were spares. Next came 10 light throwing knives and 2 daggers. These cold weapons were made of a special metal, whose hardness and toughness far exceeded those of military daggers. They were also coated with a light-absorbing material to ensure that they would not reflect light at night. Then there were several tactical grenades, stun grenades, smoke grenades, and high-explosive grenades that would only be used when necessary. Finally, there's their primary weapon, the MP5 standard submachine gun with a silencer. Both submachine guns are equipped with red dot sights and have 4 magazines. After the 2 loaded the last bullets into the magazine, Coulson pulled out a suit jacket and tossed it to Grant, saying, "This is a suit made of a special bulletproof material that we purchased from the Continental Society. Because of the tight schedule, we couldn't customize it. This is a universal size for you. You should be able to fit into it." Grant put it on, felt it out, and said there was no problem. The 2 then began loading magazines into their tactical belts, and after loading tactical grenades, pistols, throwing knives, and daggers, they began their operation for the night. First, we took a car to the headquarters of One Drop of Blood, a dilapidated building that was more than 10 stories high. The developer ran out of money to continue development, so the project was left unfinished. The founder of One Drop of Blood was actually a homeless man who lived here for many years and made this place his headquarters after establishing One Drop of Blood. As more and more people joined, the place was transformed into something quite impressive. Now, colorful neon lights flash continuously, accompanied by ear-piercing dance music, disturbing the surrounding residents from getting a good night's sleep. But they dared not complain. After all, the one who dared to complain was only born this year. "Sir, can you hear me?" "I heard you, I remembered. This operation is a private one. We have no reinforcements and no official status. Don't die and definitely don't get captured alive. Understand?" "Understood, sir." "All right, let's begin. Tonight, every single member of One Blood will be wiped out." "Yes, sir." The two attacked from two directions to ensure that no one escaped. Grant attacked from the front, while Coulson attacked from behind. Coulson easily scaled the 2-meter-high wall. Just as he jumped down, several One Blood members, armed with weapons, walked over, their arms around each other's shoulders. Judging from their unsteady gait, they had clearly drunk quite a bit. Looking at them now, anyone who didn't know better would think this was some war-torn region or the City of God, and would never guess that this is New York City, the world's leading economic center. Coulson watched them, then immediately hid in the darkness. Once the men had passed by, he emerged from the shadows, slowly drew his dagger, and silently approached the lone man behind him. Suddenly, he covered the man's mouth with one hand and swiftly swept the other across his throat, dragging him into the darkness. As blood continued to flow, the struggling member slowly stopped and finally lost all life. His death foreshadowed the start of the massacre. Coulson continued to assassinate people with his dagger, and soon all the patrolmen outside were eliminated. Grant did the same, but he did one more thing than Coulson. He cut the power cord to the outer lights so he could make his move. The two quickly gathered together, and Coulson spoke first. "How is it? Is it cleaned up?" "It's all cleaned up now, next we'll go inside." "Okay, remember, leave no survivors, understand?" "Understood, sir." The two men placed the dagger in their left hands and drew their pistols in their right hands. They gently opened the door on the first floor and began to gradually clear the entire floor. There weren't many enemies on the first floor, only 2 or 3. They were mostly sentries, but they hadn't received any training. So when the two men appeared in their field of vision, before they could even draw their guns, the two men decisively pulled the triggers, 2 shots to the body and 1 to the head. Even a god would shake his head in disbelief. As they cleared the area layer by layer, more and more people appeared. At first, they could kill them with speed, but as the number of people increased, they could no longer kill them immediately, which gave the other people a chance to react. As the gunshots rang out, even with the interference of dance music, many people still heard them. The leader of One Drop of Blood immediately stood up, blasted the speaker with his AK, and shouted, "Brothers, someone dares to attack us. What do you suggest we do?" "Kill them. Kill them." One by one, the guys who had just taken drugs raised their weapons and shouted. "Haha, that's right, kill them," the leader of One Drop of Blood shouted, and then they marched downstairs in a grand procession. Coulson and his team knew they had alerted the enemy. After clearing out the spies on the floor, they immediately used some debris to create a favorable fighting position, changed their bullets, put them back into their tactical belts, and switched to submachine guns, ready for battle. The two men waited with their guns crossed when a group of people came down the only staircase. They immediately opened fire, and bullets mercilessly claimed their lives. The people behind them were frightened and quickly retreated. There were too many people crammed in there. People on top wanted to get down, and people on the bottom wanted to get up. For a moment, they were completely blocked and gradually became panicked. Even though the two of them had finished a magazine and were reloading, they did not organize a counterattack, but wanted to escape as soon as possible, which gave Coulson and his men an opportunity. However, this time, the two of them did not choose to fire in bursts, but rather in short bursts, meaning they were completely focused on the backs of the enemy. As the death toll rose, so high that it blocked the entire stairwell, the group above finally realized what was happening and quickly fled, pointing their guns at the stairwell. Now both sides are at a stalemate, one side afraid to advance, and the other afraid to retreat. "Boss, you're here. What the hell are you doing? Why don't you go down?" When the leader of One Drop of Blood arrived at the scene, he saw the members trembling and afraid to go down. He was so angry that he kept cursing and kicking them. "Boss, it's not that we don't want to go down, it's just that their firepower is too intense. Look for yourself, those are the corpses of our brothers." The leader of the One Drop of Blood came to the stairwell and peeked down. When he saw the dozen or so corpses, he couldn't help but swallow hard. "In that case, let's hold them off. Our reinforcements will arrive by daybreak anyway. But boss, they won't use explosives, will they? Do they dare? Keep a close eye on them now. If anyone shows up, shoot them."